welcome to the inaugural Road to Recovery program here. It is a pleasure to have you joining us for this program. Throughout the next several weeks, we're going to talk to various individuals who work in the area of addiction, helping those on their road to recovery. My name is Steve Rauch. I have the privilege of pastoring Pleasant Chapel Church of God and the president of WFCO 90.9 FM. And it is a privilege to share this information with you on this brand new program, Road to Recovery. We'll talk to various individuals who help those in recovery, maybe even a few individuals who struggled with this area of addiction, family members, and other organizations who provide financial support, spiritual support, emotional support, and medical support as well. So we encourage you to stay tuned to this program on a regular basis, and we want to do our best to be an arm of education for our community. The Recovery Center, which services all of Fairfield County, does a wonderful job in this area, and we want to help them, help you and I to learn more about this entire process of addiction and recovery. I'm privileged to have a co-host for this program. She is Trisha Saunders. She's the executive director of the Recovery Center here in Fairfield County. Trisha Saunders, welcome to Road to Recovery.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for your willingness to be on the program, first of all, and to provide some co-hosting duties as well.
Absolutely. It's a pleasure to be here.
I'd like to begin this program today with learning a little bit more about Trisha Saunders. As the executive director of the Recovery Center, how long has that been the case for you?
Well, I've been the executive director at the Recovery Center for the past 5 years, and I've worked at the Recovery Center in a number of capacities over the last 17 years. And prior to that, I worked in psychiatric inpatient hospital and a prison program in Florida. So my experience has been rather diverse.
Well, I think that's what qualifies you to be the executive director of the Recovery Center. So take me back. Are you from this area or are you from Florida?
Yes, I'm from Ohio, from this area, and born and raised here, and have been back here for 17 years. I was just gone for a few years, but I gained a lot of valuable experience during that time, and came back to Lancaster and have been at the Recovery Center ever since.
Very good. Where did you get your education?
I went to Ohio University and got my bachelor's degree, and then since that time I have been licensed to do prevention work and chemical dependency treatment in Ohio and throughout the country.
Very good. And so, did you have any experience with addiction prior to pursuing this as a vocation?
Well, I think I've always been passionate about people making healthy decisions for their lives, and I've seen people struggle, as we all have throughout life, with addictions, and I think I was always curious as to how that happens and why somebody could let that happen to themselves. So I think some of it was my curiosity that brought me to this field, and I just had a lot of passion for it throughout, and I think over the years that has increased as I've seen how people have struggled, families, children, how it affects the whole family system and community, but also how I've seen so many people get better.
We talked off camera about the fact that when one person is struggling with addiction, there are so many corollary effects of that it isn't just one person struggling with addiction. It is literally multiple family members, friends, co-workers, classmates, other individuals who really are impacted by that one person's struggle.
Sure. Most of us know somebody who struggles with addiction, and actually 1 in 4 people have somebody who's very close to them that struggles with addiction. So we call it a family disease. It affects the whole family and really far beyond that, as you said.
And you use a broad definition of family when you're talking about friends or your family at work or family at school, those kinds of things. Certainly a broad spectrum there. Something you said interests me as well, and that is a diverse background that you had. Share with us a couple of things that show the diversity in your background that has helped to prepare you to be the executive director of the Recovery Center.
Okay, sure. Some of my experience was working with prison inmates really initially, and also in prevention work. When I worked with prison inmates, I think I learned far more from them than I could have ever taught them, because they taught me about the complexities of life and what brought them to where they were and their willingness to change. I also have taught prevention in the schools in multiple counties in Ohio, and worked with students to try to keep them off drugs, help them to make healthy life decisions, but also students who were struggling with family issues, that their parents were addicted to drugs, or that they were challenged themselves with substance use, or maybe their academics, so they were challenged in some area of their life, but it always came back to some substance use relation with them or their family members. And then at the Recovery Center, I worked with men, women, and children in counseling. I also spent time in Fairfield County schools, many of them doing prevention work. So I think all of those different things have lent to my experience. I also, for a short period of time, worked in an inpatient program and saw how that operated, and worked some with people who were in the detox unit. So again, every piece of the puzzle has helped me to see the full spectrum of care for people, and that's been very valuable to me.
No question about that, and that's why the board over at the Recovery Center made the right decision to select Trisha Saunders as the executive director. Really, that you need that broad range of experience to truly understand, I believe, all of the effects of what an individual or the family is going through. You talk about a recovery center, and we'll talk about the steps in the recovery center, but first, you mentioned prevention. You really would prefer that you didn't have to work with clients at the Recovery Center because everybody has prevented this. Is that correct?
That is absolutely correct. And prevention is something that we don't tell our kids once in their life. It's like healthy eating habits or anything else. We learn over the course of our development, growing up, and we have to keep teaching teachable moments with our children, and it could be grandchildren, neighbors, whoever a person is close to, but giving them constant messages about what is healthy. And people are going to make some mistakes along the way, but it's important that we try to keep our children safe and help them to learn and grow from those experiences. But prevention does work. We use evidence-based programming, which means it's been proven to be effective. So it's not helpful really to scare a kid and say this is what could happen to you, but it's much better to teach them information and skills of how to resist unhealthy situations, and that's what we do in the schools and in the community.
In my line of work in the pastoring ministry and even in radio ministry, people come to you and say, we've got this problem. Is there any way you could help us with this problem? My child is 14 and could you take them to a jail or a prison and try to scare them? And I'm always very uncomfortable with that request because I certainly agree with what you've discovered, and that is it's not a very effective way. Wouldn't it be better to put the skills in your children at a very early age and as they are continuing to grow? So thank you for your work in the area of prevention. Sadly, there are many folks who are continuing to struggle with the area of addiction, whether it's alcohol addiction, drug addiction, those kinds of things. Somebody contacts the Recovery Center. What are they going to experience? They call you, I'm really struggling with this addiction issue. What happens next? Well,
first I would like to say that 60% of the people that come to the Recovery Center are completely voluntary, and I think that's very surprising to a lot of people in our community because we tend to think that people are forced into treatment.
Court-ordered.
Yes, but typically people make that decision on their own because they're experiencing a lot of pain in their life. Even when the court refers them, they have options. They don't have to come to treatment, and some of them choose not to. So there are other consequences possibly for something that they may have done or where their addiction has led them. But I also think that there's some stigma in walking in our office because people used to do that to me too. They'd say, can I bring a class of students into the Recovery Center? And I would say, sure, but it's just offices, it's like going to the doctor's office.
Sure.
So first of all, I think it's important for people to realize that it's a calm place. We have children that come to our agency and families. It's a very safe place where we want people to feel like they can come and be safe there and talk about their issues. We're there to help guide them and make decisions that are appropriate for them or to make life changes that will be helpful to them. So we help steer people, but the ultimate decision is theirs. When a person calls the Recovery Center, and our number is 687-4500, they will be told when they can come in sometime during that week, and they will sit down with a counselor for a brief period of time and just get some general information so that it kind of guides us to how intensive their problem is. If they're in a crisis situation, for example, or certain circumstances, we would want to take action immediately. If they're not in a crisis situation, then we will give them some community support options, and then we will have them come back in and start in an education group. When people come into that group, they're not expected to share their whole life story in front of a bunch of people. They can sit and listen and take in the information, and as they feel comfortable, they can ask questions and seek further information. So some of our therapy is group-based, where they will sit in a small group with other people, and everything that is said there is to stay there. You know, everyone needs to feel safe and confidential. But we also have people work individually with licensed counselors as well, and they can share more of their personal issues or concerns in a more private setting. The period of time that people can come to the Recovery Center really can be anywhere from a few weeks to a year, depending on that person's needs. And I think a lot of times people get to the end of their term there and want to stay a little bit longer, because they really do feel that it's a place where, you know, they're safe and comfortable, and things are going better in their life, and they want it to continue in that direction. So
very good. Just got a couple of minutes left. What about medical support? Is there medical support from the Recovery Center if somebody is in need of that?
Very good question. Our field is becoming more involved with the medical community and seeing better results with people when they are involved medically. Some people are pretty far into their addiction and may have some health issues that they were really numbing before. When you take them off of those drugs or medications that were being unhealthy for them, the way they were using them, they start really noticing their physical symptoms. Or they may have trouble quitting that substance without medical care, and we are there to guide them. We provide a very limited amount of medical services at the Recovery Center, but we also refer people to, you know, link them up with the service that they need medically so that they can become holistically better. So it is a very crucial part of getting better, and we are also seeing better treatment results. More people are able to stay clean if they are on the appropriate medications, because most of the time they're medicating themselves with an unhealthy substance, and when you get that balance corrected and the right medication,
pretty powerful.
Absolutely.
Pretty powerful process. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for being a little more transparent about your life personally, sharing a little bit about your life experience and the outstanding work that the Recovery Center does here in Fairfield County. Thank you also for being willing to co-host the program.
Thank you very much. I'm thrilled to be here.
It's unusual for the co-host to be the guest, but thank you for agreeing to be the guest today.
It's an honor, and we want to get the word out to the community and answer questions.
Very good. Thank you for joining us for the inaugural show, Road to Recovery, shining the light on hope. The hope that you can have if you are struggling or a family member or friend is struggling with addiction. There are people to provide help, to provide hope, to provide wholeness, and back to health. Give the Recovery Center a call, 687-4500, 740-687-4500, and Trisha Saunders, the Executive Director, and her staff will provide you the support that you need or your family member or friend needs on the road to recovery. Join us next time for this program, as we'll bring a guest that will be able to share additional aspects of this road to recovery. Thanks for joining us today.